Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Creator Etiquette by Hosts of Influence. Today we're going to be talking about something that has been on my mind for quite some time, and that is the subject of plagiarism within the content creation industry and social media. If you're new here, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss a beat on anything creator economy related and how to grow your business as a content creator. To start us off with this week's episode, I just wanted to start by asking you guys some questions. If you take a moment to sit back and think about if any of your ideas that you've ever had are 100% original. The reason I'm asking this question in this instance is because I actually fundamentally believe in books like Steal Like an Artist, and I do believe that nobody really ever has an original idea. Anything you've ever thought of has likely been thought of by other people before. Maybe they haven't acted on it, or maybe they have, but maybe their delivery wasn't the way that your delivery would be, so technically it's a new idea. I've seen this story over and over and over again in the creator world where a creator has an idea and they post it, and then shortly after another content creator might have a similar idea, and whether they got inspiration from that creator or they literally just took their idea and ran with it, or literally just maybe used technology like ChatGPT to record their transcript and try to make it their own, but it didn't really land very well, is becoming increasingly more common. And in the past week, I've seen a bunch of different examples of this. Now, I'm not condoning plagiarism in any way, shape, or form. I think it's really irritating to work so hard on content and something that you could be so proud of and think is so unique and original. But guess what? Every single person creating content probably feels the same way as you, and unless they are deliberately taking and buying the exact same things you are in videos, which again, I have seen this happen before, where a creator looks at one person's success and they completely do the exact same thing, and it also helps them garner an audience, followers, and maybe even brand deals sometimes. I don't think that's like the right way to go about it, but I am saying that with technology, it's becoming increasingly easier for people to steal ideas and be less original. However, on the contrary, I'm seeing content creators actually give their audience ideas that they want them to steal. But here's the interesting thing. We're also seeing content creators that are maybe social media coaches or people that are just inspiring to other aspiring creators, offering ideas for creators to steal and use in their own content. This is a unique situation because the creators that are offering to allow people to use their ideas willingly are not requiring credit in their captions, and they won't go after a creator if they use something from their channel or their idea, as long as they verbally said, use my idea. But we also saw situations like this occur that kind of set this new trend of always crediting somebody else in your content if it was inspired by them. So like inspired by, like you'll see like IB and then you'll tag a creator. And what originally inspired this most famously is Charli D'Amelio going super viral and amassing a huge following on TikTok, which I'm sure so many of you know about. And she got viral for doing the renegade dance that this creator, Jelaya Harmon, created. I don't think she originally tagged them, and so users were definitely quick to kind of tag her and be like, oh no, you stole this dance from this creator deserves credit, blah, blah, blah. So obviously it's been 6 years since that whole shenanigan kind of started, but I really do think it is best practice in the industry if you are going to use an idea from a creator, even if they explicitly say, steal this idea for your channel. I personally would always say inspired by, got inspo from, and tag the creator you originally found it from, just to save your ass. Now here is where I think things are really starting to accelerate in the creator industry, and that has to do with the inputs and outputs that creators are getting from AI. And to clarify, that means if somebody goes to ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity or Copilot, people are starting to get similar outputs and then using the output almost as fact, as a script that ultimately other people could technically use when asking the same question. So there have been instances that I have found on the internet where a content creator comes up with a video, puts text on her video, makes a whole caption, and another content creator does the same thing. And then the original creator calls them out for plagiarism. Here's the thing. There's no real way to track down what is plagiarism for these content creators without really going down a rabbit hole of a lawsuit. So in the instance I'm talking about, the creator confronted the other content creator who stole her idea, and ultimately that person said, wow, I guess my ChatGPT output is really similar to yours, which begs the question of, are you using AI responsibly, and are you using it as a thought partner instead of letting it think for you? AI is currently learning from content already on the internet, so obviously anytime you're talking to it, it's learning about you and your ideas and can provide that information to other people on the internet so that they can use it in your idea. So honestly, anything you've ever posted on the internet, I would just get it out of your head that it is a completely original idea and that nobody else could steal it, because unless they are using your name, image, and likeness, unless you have filed trademarks or patents or copyrights on your work specifically, honestly, I think anything's fair game. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I don't really think it's right. I'm not saying people should just have authority to steal your work and post it as their own. No, that's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying here is that creators, you need to start taking your brand and your IP seriously, because if you don't, situations like this can get out of hand really quick, and ultimately it will become a battle of who filed their trademark first, who filed for the patent first, who filed the IP copyright first. And ultimately, the person that does it first usually is the one that's going to get access to it. So it's just kind of a wake-up call. And I feel like a lot of people aren't even thinking about this. And obviously I am not an attorney. Definitely consult a lawyer for legal advice on anything content, IP related. But at the end of the day, my professional advice as a creator who has trademarks approved and registered and is working on getting copyrights for my framework, you 100% need to be thinking about this. Another question that I was asked that I'm going to answer today is, how is it fundamentally different to use an LLM like ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, blah, 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 in comparison to something like Pinterest, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram to search for content ideas? The big difference, I would say, is that ChatGPT is going to actually give you an output that you can have a conversation with about the kinds of content that you maybe should or shouldn't be creating. For example, if you said, I want 10 unique content ideas in this specific niche, I want you to ask me specific questions so that I can have a very unique idea, versus, hey ChatGPT, I need 10 viral content ideas in this niche. I would really ask yourself, which of those questions that I asked is going to provide you with a better output and provide you with more unique content on the internet that feels distinctly you, that's not generic? If you chose number two, I don't really have much to say to you, but if you chose number one, keep watching. Because once you get those answers and that output from the LLM, I would encourage you to then say, what are some keywords I can search for on TikTok, on Pinterest, on YouTube to learn more about the niche and see what best performing content looks like in that niche? From there, I would use any of the platforms as a visual marker of what looks good and try to emulate something in your own style that looks really good. Whereas with ChatGPT, again, use that as your thought partner to help you articulate what you're trying to say perfectly. Again, if you're using inspiration from another creator and it's very clear that you're taking inspiration from them, always, in my humble opinion, credit them. Just do it. It's going to save your butt. And another question I wanted to address here is, what do we think about plagiarism in the context of a TikTok or Instagram reel trend? The trend where a creator comes out with a trending audio, or they jump on the trend of using a song, and then, for example, my favorite animal is me when da 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 da, and hundreds of thousands of creators do this trend. Is that plagiarism? Because you take your own idea, you add it to the same audio, you add a new video of yourself with a unique tagline about your favorite animal of yourself. Like, is that plagiarism? I don't think so. I think we have clearly at this point established that trends are just a part of social media and you can post these things. It's kind of like posting your Spotify Wrapped. Like, everything is the same, but nobody's like plagiarizing one another for listening to the same things and having the same music taste. I kind of am thinking of it like that. And on the note of prompting with AI, I am going to drop a freebie in the comments of how I specifically prompt AI to help me get the best creative output. So if you're interested in that, make sure you check the link in the comments below, because this is a freebie I am not going to keep free for very long. I know I told you I'm not going to gatekeep. I basically already gave you an amazing formula just a couple moments ago, but this freebie is literally going to be life-changing for you. And it's going to address this key question of how can creators use AI creatively to help them ideate instead of outsourcing all of their creative thinking to it. And ultimately, what I believe is that you need to start treating ChatGPT and Claude like a junior assistant, almost like an intern, is somebody who you'd, bounce ideas off of, maybe even like using a whiteboard to make a mind map. Use the AI software to ideate and get your thoughts from your head onto paper or onto a screen. And by the way, if you ever are out somewhere and you're jotting something down on like a Post-it or a notebook, you can even upload screenshots of that into ChatGPT and ask it to kind of like catalog your notes that way. So sometimes when I'm doing analog notes, that is a trick that I like to use. But when you're there, always just get the ideas out, and then you have to start asking it questions. You cannot, and again, I'm just like, I sound like a broken record here, but you just cannot, like absolutely 100% know that you should not be using the output that ChatGPT gives you as like the final round. And this is especially important if you are a digital course creator and you're selling products to a community, or you are creating content for brands. Like, please, 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 I don't 100% know the FTC guidelines and rules around using AI in branded content, but at the very least, like, add a human layer to it. Make sure that you're correcting it. Change the punctuation. Change the fragmented sentence structure that ChatGPT and these other models commonly output. This is going to be a way that you'll be able to scale faster, get your ideas out faster, and focus on what you do best, which I know is creating content and talking to the camera. Sometimes all you need is a couple thought starters, and maybe you don't need a script. Maybe you just need a specific question that is being asked back to yourself of like, I want to make a video about content creation and IP. Okay, well that's super generic. How can I get even more granular and more specific to help me achieve what I need to achieve, which is creating a long form newsletter about AI and content creation, or using it in my workflow, about plagiarism with AI, about scaling a business with AI, about using AI to be a writing partner. Like, let's make it as specific as possible, and asking ChatGPT to go deeper, asking it to ask you atomic questions is going to be a phrase and a prompt that I promise you right now will change your life. Thank me later and comment below what it helped you do. So as I was brainstorming ideas for this video, I also had a question come in mind that one of my interns helped me come up with, which is on the subject of case competitions. And this is also related to influencers submitting to sweepstakes or general like, enter now to be considered for the next Trippin' with Tarte, or enter now to be in a Super Bowl commercial. And ultimately, a lot of people are not reading the terms and conditions of the ad and the sweepstakes, which usually is the brand owning the content that the person is creating. Even if it's an original idea, even if they, have worked on it for months and invested money into creating a video to submit, usually in the terms and conditions, which I don't know who reads them, but people read them. You should be reading them. But if you're not reading them, like maybe copy and paste them into chat and be like, what is potentially negotiable. Usually these things aren't negotiable. Usually they're like, if you don't agree, sorry, you're not considered. And at the end of the day, it's the individual's, prerogative to enter or not enter. I personally believe sometimes sweepstakes, like something for a Super Bowl ad or for a Trippin' with Tarte, if you think the ROI is going to be greater than a brand potentially using your content in a commercial at the Super Bowl or in an ad, like I feel like you should just go for it if you think the ROI is there. And I actually met the kid who did, I think, the Doritos ad last year for the Super Bowl. I met him at VidCon and he said it changed his life. Like, he's always booked. And so for him, submitting to the sweepstakes, entering the competition, getting through all the rounds of voting, and then having the commercial actually did really help his ROI. So I don't know. It just depends on personal preference here. And the same kind of goes for students entering case competition ideas for bigger companies. Let's say, a big brand is sponsoring it, students submit to it, present their ideas, and then ultimately what happens if they don't win the case competition or they do win it? It begs the question of, does the student's idea become owned by the brand that is hosting the case competition? And ultimately, again, I think it might, but at the same time, there are arguments to say that you shouldn't enter a really good idea in something like a sweepstakes or a case competition, because ultimately the brand will acquire that idea and there's nothing you could do about it. So just something to kind of think about. And ultimately, just remembering that you have autonomy over the ideas that you create, over the content you post, and just making sure that you're doing everything by the book and you're reading the terms and conditions and you're, advocating for yourself as a creative professional, because that's what content creators are at the end of the day. So if you love this video, please make sure that you like, follow, and subscribe to Creator Etiquette by Hosts of Influence. I cannot wait to see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.